This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. About 350,000 newly unemployed people signed up for financial assistance in the United States during the first week of July. The nation's jobless rate was 8.2% in both May and June. Some employers say they would add employees if they could find workers with important technology skills. Some experts say better communication and technology could reduce this skills gap. Angel Gurria is head of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. He says even some well-educated people are having trouble finding work around the world. He says it is a tragedy that there are unemployed graduates while employers cannot find people with the skills they need. OECD officials say more than 44 million people are unemployed in the 34 wealthiest nations belonging to the organization. In the United States alone, nearly 13 million people are unemployed, but the country also has more than 3.6 million unfilled jobs. Experts say some positions are unfilled because those seeking work lack high technology skills. A company called Monster Worldwide is using some new technology it says can help solve that problem. Company official Earl Renison says computer programs called semantic search are able to process huge amounts of information. That includes millions of resumes to help connect skilled people with open jobs. Earl Renison says semantic search is designed to choose the right match from the words or expressions around a keyword. He says this helps it get the right match, even if a job posting, resume, or other documents use different words to express the same idea. He says better searches will lead to better matches and fill more jobs. Rich Milgram is head of a recruitment company called Beyond.com. He says another problem is that the people who are experts at finding just the right workers were the first ones out of work during the recession. He also says it will take time for companies to rebuild their workforces, even if they have added new recruiters. The new recruiters do not understand the business that well because they are new, says Rich Milgram. They do not have a relationship with the hiring managers. Rich Milgram says companies in need of excellent workers have to do a good job of writing job advertisements that are understandable. And job seekers need to make it clear to hiring managers how they can help their companies. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. The number of people visiting South Africa grew by almost 10% last year. One country making that number grow is China. Chinese investment has been increasing in South Africa. So has the number of Chinese visitors to the country. China sends the fourth largest number of tourists to South Africa. More than 130,000 Chinese tourists went there last year. Europeans remain the biggest tourism group, but the percentage of Chinese tourists grew by 56% from 2011 to 2012. Beverly Schaefer is a member of Cape Town's city government. She represents an area that is home to a famous soccer stadium. She says the number of visitors to the country increased after South Africa hosted the World Cup Soccer Championship in 2010. South Africa's travel industry has been noting the growing number of Chinese tourists. Mariette Dutoit Helmbold has worked with Cape Town Tourism. She says the industry is looking for Chinese-speaking guides and has started providing information in Mandarin Chinese. There are several reasons for the increase in Chinese tourists. One could be South Africa's inclusion in the BRICS economic group, which also includes China. Also, South Africa recently added visa application centers in Beijing and Shanghai. And last year, South African Airways added direct flights between Beijing and Johannesburg. Traditionally, Cape Town's tourism industry has been directed toward Europeans and Americans, who often travel in smaller groups or as couples. However, Chinese tourists often prefer to travel in larger groups. For VOA Learning English, I'm Mario Ritter.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report. Many Pakistanis are increasingly concerned about their economy. Safar Saeed directs an occupational training center in Islamabad, the capital. For the past 10 years, the center has trained thousands of people for work in an increasingly difficult economy. Now, the business is struggling with issues ranging from loss of electricity to inflation. Safar Saeed blames the government for the situation. He says his organization has suffered big financial losses in the last 5 years. One of the reasons is long power outages. Another reason is that inflation makes it hard for people to pay his fees, so they can learn skills that lead to income. Other people share his opinion. Street protests against power outages are common in Pakistan. Some outages can now last an entire day. Ashfaq Hassan Khan is a professor at the Nust Business School in Islamabad. He says there has been too little political will to fix the national tax system. Less than 1% of Pakistan's 180 million people pay income taxes. About 70% of federal lawmakers did not complete any income tax documents last year. As Professor Khan notes, that makes it more difficult to ask major donors to the country for help. He says other nations question why they should provide Pakistan with aid when Pakistan does not tax its own wealthy citizens. 60% of the Pakistani population is under the age of 25. Opinion surveys show that young people are most concerned about economic problems and corruption. For VOA Learning English, I'm Laurel Bowman. You can watch more captioned videos at the VOA Learning English website and the VOA Learning English channel on YouTube.
From VOA Learning English, this is the Economics Report in Special English. Levels of corruption like bribery, abuse of power, and secret dealings are still very high in many countries. Transparency International has released its yearly Corruption Perceptions Index. The Berlin-based group rates 176 countries and territories with a number from 100 to 0. Bigger numbers are better. The index measures the perceived or apparent level of corruption in a country. The group uses information from the African Development Bank, the World Bank, and the World Economic Forum. Corruption takes many forms. Transparency International calls it the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. One common form is bribery, the use of money or gifts to persuade another person to do something wrong or illegal. Corruption is not easy to measure because it is secretive. But the World Bank has estimated that about $1 trillion in bribes are paid every year worldwide. Stealing public money is another form of corruption. Huguette Labelle is chair of Transparency International. She says the problem of corruption affects millions of people and limits their ability to get essential services like water, education, health, and licenses. A group of small developed nations scored highest on the new list. Denmark, Finland, and New Zealand received a rating of 90. Among large nations, the United States rated 73, while China rated 39. The countries with the greatest perceived level of corruption on the list are Somalia, North Korea, and Afghanistan, with scores of 8. Robin Hodes directs research at Transparency International. She says Transparency International needs evidence about how corruption works and needs to know where to target the reforms needed to promote accountability and integrity. The perceptions held by experts, businesses, and organizations are important. The World Bank notes that countries showing improvements had greater foreign investment and economic growth. For VOA Learning English, I'm Carolyn Presutti.
This is the VOA Special English Economics Report. Counterfeit designer clothing, medicines, and other products are made and sold around the world. American investigators say the counterfeit goods industry is a bigger business than the illegal drug trade. And they say anyone buying such goods could be providing support to criminal activities. Counterfeit goods may look like the real thing, but they are copies made without the approval of the business or individual with rights to the original product. Many fake goods from East Asia enter the United States through the port of Los Angeles, California. People looking for low prices on goods go to a part of downtown Los Angeles called Santee Alley. It is a place where counterfeit goods are sold. Clothing, sunglasses, watches, and toys fill the many small stores in the area. Anita Gray has been going to Santee Alley for years. She says she would never buy fake designer products. She says she has seen them there, although not recently. Investigator Chris Buckner says there is a reason people do not see counterfeit goods openly displayed at Santee Alley anymore. Police have repeatedly raided stores that carry fake designer goods. As a result, people who sell them are much more careful. Chris Buckner says sellers will offer the fake goods to buyers and take them to a storage area where the goods are hidden. An estimated $500 billion is spent on counterfeit goods every year. Chris Buckner notes that local street gangs, organized crime groups, and even terrorists are involved in counterfeiting. At the Port of Los Angeles, police seize counterfeit clothing, prescription medications, electronics, and cigarettes. Investigators say large amounts of the fake and stolen designer products come from China and enter American ports in large shipping containers. More than 14 million shipping containers arrive in Los Angeles every year. Police are able to inspect less than 1% of them. Police say there are ways to tell if a product is counterfeit. Look at the kind of store where the product is sold and whether the price seems too low. If it is probably a fake. For VOA Special English, I'm Mario Ritter. To read, listen, and learn English, go to voaspecialenglish.com. You can also find our captioned videos at the VOA Learning English channel on YouTube.